You did not intend to look back at the contrast that caused you to ask in order to justify the asking by pointing out how bad it was. And yet in your physical form, you've made an art of that. You often are justifying or rationalizing or defending. I need it because I don't have it. It's not fair. And whenever you feel those emotions that feel like injustice or unfairness, whenever you feel those emotions that feel like fear or worry, whenever you feel those emotions that feel like doubt, whenever you feel depressed, whenever you feel discouraged, whenever you feel anger, whenever you feel overwhelmed or frustration, whenever you feel those negative emotions, what it means is life has caused you to expand. The larger part of you did, but you're still beating the drum of what caused the expansion, and you're not up to speed, and therefore not in the vortex, and therefore not a cooperative component to what you've asked for. And in order for the manifestations to occur in your life experience, you've got to be in the vortex. You've got to be up to speed with what you're asking for. Do you know the vibrational frequency of a question and its answer are very different frequencies? The vibrational frequency of a problem and a solution are very different frequencies. And so we want this forum to be an opportunity for you to listen and feel and come into vibrational concert with who you really are, which means we're going to do our best to distract you from the vibrational patterning of what's been holding you apart from who you are. We want you in the vortex. That's where you belong. But we don't ever want to imply that you should just get in there and remain in there. You'd have to croak to do that. You came forth in physical form with the distinct intention of exploring contrast for the purpose of expansion, for the purpose of joyous expansion. Not one of you said, I'll go forth and I'll struggle and strive and I will launch rockets, but I won't go. I'll just stay there in my lackful, mournful, complaining existence, and I'll sacrifice the joy that could be mine for the good of others. Not one of you said that. Every one of you said, I'll go into natural contrast and from it I will choose. And once the choice is made and the larger part of me gives undivided attention to the choice, I will too. And you know what the most exhilarating thing about that is that everything that you want to call joyous life experience, every bit of it is that closing of that gap. In other words, you out here on the leading edge, you get to explore the contrast and you get to launch the rocket. But then the most wonderful thing happens to you. You get to feel the visceral, tactile, physical thrill of now coming into alignment with your expansion. You get to experience the manifested perfection of every wish or desire or dream that you could ever conjure. But you've got to learn how to become a match to your dreams, which means you got to let go of reality. You got to let go of the reality of the isness of now, because some of it's good and some of it is not the way you want it to be. And you've trained yourself to be so very objective. You weigh the pros and the cons and the pluses and the minuses. You find things, you may not believe this, but you find things in your historical history. You find things in your history that were awful and you make monuments about them. And then you drag your blessed new little ones down the long, awful trail of all of that history. As your children are born, you say, I've been here longer and I know how bad it can be. You're fresh and new and naive, but I see it as my job to change that as quickly as possible. A lot of bad things have happened to me and I've written them all down here. And a lot of bad things that haven't happened to me have happened to other people. I've written them all down too. And so now I will help you guard yourself from all of these unwanted things. And what most humans do not realize is that in every moment of every bit of that, all they are doing is holding themselves apart from the vibrational reality that is full of all of their requests and is sustained by the energy that creates worlds, by that which man calls God, by that which is the source of all that is good. that remains there for you, surrounding everything that you want and the larger part of you, summoning you all day, every day into it, calling you, calling you, calling you. And when you answer that call, when you move in the direction of that, you feel the relief of releasing the resistance. With every particle of resistance that you release, with every bit of movement toward who you really are, you feel yourself blossoming and blooming and becoming that being that you have already become, vibrationally speaking. So when we tell you you are vibrational beings, how does that set with you? Are you all right with that? When we tell you that you are source energy in a physical body, does that sort of kind of make sense to you? When we tell you that you're exploring contrast and that the contrast helps you to choose, do you get that? And when we tell you that when you've chosen, that the larger part of you embraces your choice and holds it for you eternally, waiting for another amendment and waiting for you to become a vibrational match to it, can you relate that to the wonderful aspects of your life? Do you get that? Do you now understand the emotions within you and what they mean? Do you know that the source within you is one who loves? Do you know that? And do you know that that's why when you find someone that you're not appreciating, when you're finding fault or blame, when you're condemning someone or something, even when by your physical standards they darn well deserve it, do you now understand what that negative emotion means? It means you departed from who you are. Source says you have the free will to do that, but you're not ever going to feel like you really feel when you hate, because you are a lover. The larger part of you loves. And when you don't love, you're not who you are. And there is a separation that you can feel in your solar plexus that feels like hate or anger. When you are afraid, do you know that it does not mean that you're receiving a warning bell that says there's danger? Do you know that when you're afraid, what it means is you have thought about something and therefore activated a vibration and therefore established a vibrational pattern of such separation from who you are that that empty, awful feeling that you call fear simply means your thought is not in sync with who you are. You're draining yourself. Draining isn't the right word. You are disallowing the refueling, the refilling of who you really are. So, this gathering, we call it the art of allowing, the art of figuring out how to allow myself in my physical form to be that which the source within me has become as a result of my exposure to this contrast here and now. Do you see how it all fits together? There are no words to convey to you the appreciation that we feel from this non-physical vantage point for the leading edge work that you all are doing. We want to assure you that your future, that the future of this planet, that the future of all that you know as physicality, it is magnificently laid out before you. And when you find something to fuss and worry about, the most significance that that has is that for you, right here, right now, you prevent yourself from being the full being that you really are. And here is the most significant thing that you will hear from us this day or ever. That negative emotion that you feel simply means that you are not keeping up with you. You are not keeping up with who you have become as a result of the life that you've been living. So, what do you want to talk about?
So I want to continue to do the work that I'm doing, and I don't want it to contradict with my desires, and that's the part that I'm struggling with.
Well, we can see why, because you can't have it both ways. In other words, you cannot continue to beat the drum of justifying the need for something by poking around at what's wrong and be a vibrational match to what you want. So a sort of cliche, an easy way to say it is you have to start looking toward the solution instead of dramatizing the problem.
That's the challenge, I guess. Because I mean, if I'm with an individual, if my desire is to pay off my mortgage and I have an individual sitting across the desk from me who's sleeping under a bridge, it's a hard thing to try to balance out.
We understand, but we were talking about this earlier with our friend as we were talking about if you're in the vortex and they're far from it, they can't hear you. And so a lot of people go way out of the vortex so they can be heard, but then you can't help them. And so what it really comes down to is nobody really helps anybody very much unless they're in the vortex. So you really have no choice other than to get in the vortex and believe in their well-being. So how could you find a way of witnessing someone who is living under a bridge and being in the vortex at the same time. So you could say, hey man, you're about as free an individual as I've ever met. There are so many of us who work here who would like to go lay under the bridge with you. Out of earshot of our supervisor, out of earshot of the responsibilities that we have. Seems to me that you've been satisfying some pretty basic intentions of your own by seeking freedom. I think we're all freedom seekers, you could say. I think we're all freedom seekers. And wouldn't it be nice if we could find our freedom and our abundance also? Say to him, I'm working on this because I don't think I have to give up one for the other. I think I can be free and abundant. And don't get me wrong, I'm still working on it. I'm still working on it. But I applaud your quest for freedom. I applaud your way of finding your freedom. And if you really felt as good as I think I would feel in that freedom, then I think other good things would begin to flow to you. That really is the most powerful thing that you could say. You have to find a way of finding something in whatever it is that you're giving your attention to. Because what are the alternatives? Do you have the power with every person that you interact with to just write a check and save them from their plight?
No.
So are we correct in saying that in the majority of cases, you can't really do that much to relieve them from where they are?
It's true.
So you have two options. You can see them where they are and suffer for them, or you can see them where they are and feel appreciation for them. In other words, you can see them in a way that jerks you out of the vortex, or you can find a way to see them that puts you in the vortex. What do you think Jesus was doing? In other words, he found a way to be in the vortex while he beheld them. It's the same sort of thing. What happens to most people is they just have knee-jerk reactions to whatever they're seeing. So if they see something sad, they're sad. And if they see something happier, they're happier. In other words, they sort of go with the wind and then they feel out of control. But when you train yourself on purpose to think the thoughts, so which thought feels better to you? This poor man is sleeping in the cold and he's hungry under the bridge. Or this guy has chosen freedom over everything else. It matters so much to him that he is living like that. What a guy. Which feels better to you?
The latter one.
And so, which serves him better?
The latter one.
You say. And what other option do you have? So sometimes people say, oh, Abraham, we fear that you are teaching selfishness. And we say, indeed we are. Because if you're not selfish enough to align yourself with all that you are, then you have nothing to give anyone anyway. If you're not selfish enough to align with the power and energy that creates worlds, then you have nothing to flow to another. So let's say you're seeing someone having a horrible experience. Maybe they're on the other side of the world. Maybe it's up close to you and you're seeing it in your day's work. So you know what you don't want, which means you put a new and improved version of them in your vortex of creation. So there it is. And now, let's say that you've been listening and you want to feel good and you are reaching for the best thought you can find. So you have deliberately and with no small effort, we agree, trained yourself into positive expectation about this one and this one and this one. So that you are connected to source and holding them as your object of attention at the same time. Do you know that one who's connected to the stream of well-being is more powerful than millions who are not? Everyone should have such a friend, you see. Not ready to give them a handout, not even really capable of giving them a handout, but seeing them and expecting good things for them. You holding them as your object of attention in the way that their inner being does. Do you know that is how you build bridges for them, you see. And as you have the luxury of time that you can focus on this one that way and on another one that way and on another one that way, you'll begin to hear things from them such as, I always feel at my best when I see you. You'll start seeing them. If they are people that you see on a regular basis, you'll start seeing them responding to the expectation that you are holding for them, you see. In other words, they're coming to you for assistance. They just have no idea the depth of assistance that you are able to give them.
Wow. Great. Thank you.